Some little girl got murdered here. Do you guys hear that?
Hear what?
So we got a sequel to Five Nights at Freddy's. You know, it took over 10 years to get the first movie, and now it was a huge success. So they said, all right, well, we're doing another one. Was it any good? We'll see. Okay, so this one takes place a little bit after the events of the first movie. And, you know, the characters are still kind of affected by what happened. And then Gabby, which is Mike's little sister, they end up going back to the pizzeria. She grabs this like device and she starts hearing stuff from it and saying like, hey, it's her friends calling her back. Now, right away, we have an issue with that, but I'll move on. I'll get to that later. So then it's revealed like, oh, there was actually another location and just shit happens. That's pretty much the story, is that it's like, that's it. And then just randomness happens. Now, did I think this was good in any way? There was one thing about it that I did think was good, but we'll get to that. I wasn't a huge fan of the first movie. In fact, I didn't really like it, but it was mainly because I saw that, you know, they were releasing it in theaters, but also on Peacock at the same time. And I'm like, uh-oh, this means it's not going to be good. And I was right, because the other movie that did that at the time was that Firestarter remake, and that was pretty bad. So when they were like, all right, this one's going to go to theaters, and I'm like, okay, let's see the trailer. And the trailer was like, okay, that looks something. I'm not going to say it looks better or worse, but it looks something. And then went and saw it, and it was one of those moments where I was kind of trying to cheer it on. And then afterwards, I saw it with my little brother, who is also who knows the lore of FNAF as well. And he and I were just talking, and I kept going like, yeah, like this part wasn't very good, but you know, like this part was okay. And then we kept talking more about like, oh, this part wasn't very good, and this part sucked. And we're like, yeah, that really wasn't all that. Oh shit. Because that's how it was going. It was one of those like, I'm trying to cheer it on, like it's not all that bad. And then I was like, oh my god, yeah, I can't let that slide. So, oops. Did I think this was good? No. But the one positive I can give is the animatronics look cool. But that's because it's done by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. And you know, so they're actually like big, giant, practical animatronics and suits. So they still look like the game. And I was like, all right, that's really cool. But that's really all I can give. It wasn't scary. It felt helpless, not helpless, soulless. Now, the story and dialogue, the story made no sense at times. And the dialogue was pretty bad as well. The story, they combine, it's like they wanted to do a prequel because FNAF 2 game is a prequel. And that's where the animatronics for this one came from. And they just went, no, fuck that. We're going to put it into modern day and try to make it connect with all this other stuff. And it's like, what? That makes no sense. Like, they say, oh yeah, there was another location, you know, back in the day, and this stuff happened. So all these animatronics came from that. But it was like there's no mention of it. There's no nothing of it. Everyone just seemed to have forgotten what happened, and it just makes no sense. And another thing too is that, character changes and story changes that didn't help anything nor add anything. It just made things more complicated and worse. Like, they were trying to add there was like too many cooks in the kitchen. And the thing is that Scott Cawthon, who did all the games, wrote this one. I think he solely wrote this one. And its writing it's like, do you even know your own games, dude? And, yeah, his game stories, they're very, they're not cut and dry. You're not going to get the whole story just from one game. You have to follow all of it, and then it starts clicking like puzzle pieces, which I like. But this one, all the puzzle pieces, it's like he bought the puzzle, took out all the pieces, cut them up, and so some parts that are supposed to go to certain pieces don't even connect anymore. It's like he took out a puzzle piece, he cut it in half, and then took one half away. I'm like, hey, where's that other half? And he's like, I don't know. It's probably thrown away. And it's like, but do you realize that little piece there added so much more to this, and you just took it away, and now it makes no sense? That's kind of how this feels. And it doesn't work. But my main problem was that this movie was super predictable. And despite me knowing like the lore and stuff, it was just so predictable. Like, I could tell what was going to happen from the first 5 minutes of the movie, and I was right. I was like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And all of the boxes that I made were getting checkmarked because I was correct. Certain character problems, like what they did with the puppet in this, was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And you may have seen like things online. I don't want to give away two spoilers, but the marionette or the puppet does possess people in this one. It's not so very clear in the games. Maybe they do, and I just haven't gotten to that point. But in here, the puppet possesses people, and when it does, they just look ridiculous. Like, they have like the whole like makeup on. It's like they put like the person's head on top of the marionette body and is like floating around all over the place and has like all the makeup on, and it looks ridiculous. And they do it a couple of times throughout the movie, and it just gets worse every time. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What is this? Are you trying to be like dumb? And I get it. It's possessed animatronics. I get it. But Jesus Christ, you don't need to go that dumb. But the big thing is, if you want to see William Afton and Henry in this, so if you want to see Matthew Lillard and Screet Ulrich, good luck, because they're barely in this movie. You can honestly be in this movie for 5 minutes with the two of them. They both share screen time of like 5 minutes, and they're gone. That's it. And it's like this, they should have brought them in more. And what I've heard is that they've already greenlit the third one. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring the two of them in some more. And I'm like, the damage is already done, guys. Like really. And then, speaking of Afton, they bring in Michael Afton, which is William's son. And what the hell did they do with that? Like, what the fresh hell did they do? You honestly could have taken him out of the movie and the effect wouldn't have been the same. He shows up in the first 5 minutes looking, just creeping around, and then doesn't show up until the climax of the film. And he's like, yes, it was me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You were in this. And I'm like, yeah, no, whatever. So, overall, seriously, I was trying to ride with it for a while, but then after watching it, all like the buttons started clicking, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is downhill. This is bad. Do I like this movie more than the first one? It's hard to tell because I didn't really like that one either. The best part, the best part of both of these movies, especially this one, is the fact that they play Living Tombstone at the end. That's it. There's really nothing there. It just it felt like they were trying to put too many things in, and then the day of, they were going like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Well, it really doesn't make sense, but I guess we're doing it because, if we don't, you can easily like call off the movie. And it doesn't make sense. The moral of the story of this film is that it just makes no fucking sense. And it doesn't try to make any sense. And there's so many problems with this that you can just keep going. You can honestly just keep going. But for the sake of humanity and time and my own sanity, I'll move on. So yes, this is a terrible. It was a fine, like after it was a low fine after I came out of it. It was like hanging on. It was hanging on. It was hanging on to dear life. And then my brain started kicking and it didn't want me to think. And I was like, oh, this movie didn't want me to think. So if movies do that, that's an immediate, like, screw you. So it dropped down to a terrible. The fact that it was like, oh, we don't want you to think about this. It was like, oh, so you want me to be dumb. Got it. Yeah, screw you. So there you go. But we're getting a third movie, and God, hopefully it's better.
Where are you gonna run to? I'm not done with you.
There's no way that'll work.